So this is my project. Um, my name is Alicia Vedio and my mentor is Aline. And the project is called The One Site and it's all about connections. Myself was born in Argentina and moved to England in the 90s, and I just give a brief description of the important things about myself, mainly that I retired from the health service in England, and I also did a study on racism in the health service. And although I planted in the past, while in England, I only started planting food in 2011, and I came across permaculture in 2019. So I'm fairly new to this. One thing that I want to say is that I really like the fact that it can be applied to our inner and social landscapes. And this is a project to apply it to my life. So the main main goal is to understand the connections and integrate two sites to make them function as a unity. The factor connecting them is myself, and I want to know about my patterns. And also I have certain aims like fostering diversity, encourage nature to thrive. But the main personal objective is to prevent feelings of isolation and also the sensation of burden due to excessive work. Food sufficiency is a future objective, but is secondary to my mental health. This is my view of the three ecological design ethics, being at the center of the project, and I'm caring for myself and of my group and also the community. Wildlife is really important to me as well, and everything I do, I see it as having an impact in the future. So these are my interpretations of the three ethics. And to present this project, I used the Heather Jo Flores 4 P's of permaculture. I changed the order a bit, so I'd adapted it. And I go through this briefly, and then the main project will be presented as the process of Gobredin. So there's a couple of photos I've taken in Sheffield, where I live now, and La Plata, where I lived for 30 years, where I was born. The relevance to some of the relevance have to do with where they're located. So Sheffield is 53 degrees north of the equator, and it has a short growing season, while La Plata is 34 degrees south and have a long growing season, and also is quite fertile. This is the area where I'm actually living, and this is the location of my home, and this is a plot that I rent from the municipality, and this is the shortest way to get there. It's quite uphill, and this is a bit more leafy and quiet, and this is more green. So through the allotments, it's about 1 kilometer long. I need to learn about the patterns that affect my plot. This is the back of my house. This is a road near my house. And what I've done is just to summarize a little bit what I interpret as patterns, like protection from the climate, how the sun affects my home. The north-facing patio has no sun in the winter. We have 4 floors, and lots of the seedlings will be grown here before taken to the plot. The plot has open view of the valley, and there is many animals, and there's many plants, and there is manure drops and chip, and some of the permanent features are the apple tree, some fruit bushes, the greenhouse, the shed. There's also a fox den that's been there for many years, entrance. There is compost boxes and raised beds. But the most important part, I think, for this particular project is the path, which is the connection between the two. And here we have a number of things like the community gardens, people leaving stuff outside that can be recycled. And sometimes there is a cake sale on the way with using the proceedings to donate to charity. So this is the main part of the presentation, and this is the principles of the presentation, and I wanted to emphasize some of the principles that have been important to me. Heather Joe has this main cyclic considerations of waste, water, soil, seeds, but also the universe, society, self, cows. And this is quite a complex principle, but I think encompasses many of the others, and it's really, really important to think about things cyclically for me. She also talks about replacing conception with creativity, recognize and respond to natural patterns. We have other principles that are also addressing many of the areas where I want to focus on, and free to read that. So this is the main part of the presentation, how do I apply Gobrodin process to my design. So Gobrodin, goal, observation, boundaries, resources, analysis, design, implementation, monitoring and maintenance, engage and enjoy will be the next few slides, and will be the rest of the presentation. With goals, I summarize them in SMARTER goals. So I use the SMARTER abbreviations from the course, which is ecological and rewarding at the end. And the main specificity of the goals is integrating spaces and socializing and encouraging diversity, and also part of it is my physical health. And so I summarize some of my measurable actions and how relevant they are, and how they represent ecological principles, and also are rewarding. In observation, I made a comparison between seasons and zones, and also I wanted to talk about patterns. So this is quite an important part of the presentation. And I'll show here, for example, how the zones compare in summer, where I include in zone 1 the whole project, and there's a zone 2, which is the closed neighborhood. But in winter, zone 1 is only home, and in fact the inside of the home. And obviously I haven't gone into the zones in each space, which also can be done, but this is mainly to give an idea of the difference in the seasons. And also wanted to relate zone 1 and 2 with the connections that are important to me, and also that can help integrate the two spaces. So there's classes, there is community gardens, there is parties in the road sometimes, and yard sales, and also I have some online communities I'm part of. And there's wildlife as well. So in the zone 1, I identified, this is the scheme of the house, this is the floor plan, and this is the patio. And there's some potential areas that can be part of the design. For example, this new cellar space, making the patio into a garden, keeping the wildlife looked after, and also some of the changes that I could make there that can help also make the whole integration. Also, this is just a description of the path. There's on one path, it's the slope, and some community gardens, and some of the resources in there. So we have community gardens. There's actually 14 community gardens in the area, but the closer to me is this one and these two here. Zone 3 and 4 will be the neighborhood and surrounding areas, the woodlands, which I would like to also visit more. And this is the community garden that I'm involved with at the moment. So this is an example. This is a big supermarket place that had a garden around it, and they were going to build on it, and the neighbors managed the municipality to agree to continue to be a community garden. And this is the woods near my home. Zone 5 is Sheffield, which is a Mediterranean city, and it's a third urban, a third rural, and a third is in the Peak District National Park, and it's got the highest biodiversity in the country. So this is the Peak District. This is some places in Sheffield, the winter gardens, some graffiti near my home, and some poetry in the windows. I need to, so now we've gone to boundaries, which is the next step, and just to make sure that I'm aware of the sectors and regulations and neighbors, and also invisible structures and inner boundaries. So this is a sectors overview. There is the main winds here, and the average temperature, the black line is 2021, and this is a 30-year average. This is the sun. So the sun has a very short, this is the 21st of June, sorry, the 21st of December, and this is the 21st of June. So you can see here, for example, in August at 10 to 7 in the morning, it's already shining all over the whole plot. And here, this is midday in January, and you can see a very small area of sunshine and very long shades. And the same happens in the rest of the project, like the home and the path. We have a very short frost-free period, which is between mid to end of May to the beginning of October. And these are the temperature averages and extremes. Here we have the average rainfall, which is very variable, but it's always above 800, although there has been as low as 500 in 1975. And we do have snow, but it's not very frequent, and it's not very long. We have invisible structures, obviously, and that's what I identified is bringing others into the design, and also there are some regulations. We have a retirement pension, and also I have certain preferences for things that actually I prefer to do, and I have time because I'm retired to organize my activities around the short growing season, which takes quite a lot of energy. So I have to take care of my energy as well. This is the next step, which is resources. And I lined up a number of resources. Obviously, I haven't done here in the presentation an exhaustive list, but to give an idea of the resources that were important for this project. Also in the neighborhood, there's plenty of resources too that we tap into. within the resources, identify some needs, for example, change some habits and rethinking, for example, use of single-use plastics, kind of organizing spaces, because it was very cluttered. It's a very small kitchen and everything's spilling over the rest of the house. In the plot, we needed to also, my interest was to recycle as much as possible, to work with nature. Here is the Fox Den entrance. This is the Fox. And also I wanted to produce a yield. And for that, because the place has been used for so many years, we need to regenerate the soil as well, actually for a century. This is an example of a SWOT analysis I did. It's not exhaustive and it's not for each component, but it is able to show how I'm thinking about the project. So there are certain strengths that I bring in and that the place brings in, and opportunities of connections, some weaknesses to do with engagement and perhaps distance, and also some threats, which, you know, my tendency, so the short growing season, isolating myself, or age or illness, and the cost, obviously. I learned that some of my integration need was related to cultural differences, and also to being able to tap into the opportunities that are locally and also online. And I wanted to rethink how I saw things. Part of my work was on anti-systemic racism, so I was intending to bring this as well into the work. And in the long term, generating a regenerative livelihood is possible as well in this project. So this is the aim of the design again, and this is the opportunities for the design. So put to the clutter, use a yard sale, refurbish the cellar, social integration opportunities, and also the fair share. So Grow a Row is a program that they do in the allotment group. So you grow extra for food bank and community projects. And also I'll show other things I did. So this is phase one, refurbishment of the cellar, install a water butt and do a yard sale. And phase two, or year 2 and 3, will be expanding into different areas. The same for the plot, clearing this ugly space, making a flower bed, mulching to preserve water, and installing further water collection systems. And with the community is engaging in the community garden groups and in the events. So what happened is that the yard sale happened in 2021 in June, and we collected £77 selling some of our stuff and donated to charity. We also had the cellar refurbished, and we changed some of our habits. So this is the cellar we use some scaffolding boards here, and pallet wood, and everything else was reused. This is the greenhouse. We installed a system collection of water which fills from an outside barrel and goes into a drip irrigation system. This is mulching. This is diversity. We put a little sort of water feature for the frogs in the wildlife zone. And also in connections with the neighborhood, as I said, community gardens, and also online. in phase 2, I'm actually helping organize the new community garden and also a training to facilitate groups, regenerative groups around the world. This is the maintenance part. Sorry about this. So it's managing, maintaining. I love the list of M's in here, and also what involves maintenance and monitoring and momentum. I explain in the next slide, which is so mainly what was successful in my design is ensuring that the goals in a way are achieved and how to maintain momentum. And also I did quite a lot of work recording and correcting to be able to produce a yield. And oops, sorry. Let's see. And yes, and also in terms of myself, awareness of my state of mind and my energy. So I went back, recycled back to all the goals and observations to see how everything evolved. And this is a text-rich slide, so I'm not going to read it all, but it will be in the presentation. And this is my enjoy. This is the change between July, so mulched quite a lot, used quite a lot of gills and wildflower seeds. And this is the end of the presentation. The rest of the slides will show some texts like lists of species that grow spontaneously in the plot and components and observations and the participants. I don't like to call them stakeholders, but there you are. So I think I'm about to run out of time. Okay, thank you.